Have you moved to another state in the last 5 years? What state was it, and are you actually happy with the move? This was a question I asked in a massive survey earlier this year. I received about 3,500 responses from people all across the United States. I also included an optional section for people to leave detailed comments about their relocation experience. About 23% of respondents took the time to leave those comments. But here is what is strange about this data. When I asked about states people regretted moving to, I had over 5,000 responses, but only about 9% of those people left comments explaining why. This tells me something fascinating about human psychology. We have a lot more people who like to focus on the negative, the dark side of things. But they are often lazy about articulating their reasons. The people who are happy, however, are passionate. They are committed to their choice. They want to tell you exactly why they found peace. Relocation is not a math problem with a single correct answer. It is an emotional calculation. Just because someone hates the snow doesn't mean you won't find your soul there. We are all different, and that is exactly what we are going to explore today. We are going to look at the top 5 states that consistently show up as places where people find true contentment. These are the places that possess a certain gravity, a quality that makes people plant their roots deep and never look back. Let's dive into the list. Number 5, Washington State. Number 5 is Washington State. We need to look past the online complaints and focus on the real reasons people choose to stay here. The reason people don't regret moving to Washington is actually quite simple. It mostly comes down to money and stability. The biggest factor is taxes. Washington is one of only 9 states where you don't pay any state income tax. If your family earns good money, this policy alone can save you a huge amount of cash every year compared to living in Oregon or California. Over 10 years, that savings adds up to enough to buy a small house or pay for a college education. It makes it very hard to leave. Once you get used to keeping that extra chunk of your paycheck, moving somewhere else feels like taking a pay cut. This is a big reason why people with good jobs and retirees are so happy here. The state helps them keep their money. Yes, beyond taxes, we have to look at jobs. Washington isn't just a tech hub in name only, it is home to Amazon and Microsoft. Having these giant companies right in your backyard creates a very strong economy. Even when the rest of the country is struggling, jobs in the Seattle area tend to stay safer. People don't regret moving to a place where they feel their job is secure. Now, let's talk about the cost of housing. People complain about Seattle's expensive homes, but there is a smarter way to live here that many people figure out. A lot of the satisfaction comes from knowing where to live. Southern Washington, specifically near Vancouver, has seen a lot of people moving in for a very specific reason. It is a smart strategy. You live in Vancouver, Washington, so you pay no income tax. And then you drive across the river to Portland, Oregon to shop where there is no sales tax. It's the best of both worlds. People who do this love it because they feel like they are winning financially. Also, we have to look at the bills. Washington makes a ton of power from its rivers. That means your electricity bill is likely going to be much lower than the national average. In a world where energy prices are going up, having cheap power is a huge plus. For older folks on a fixed budget, low monthly bills are a massive relief. Then there is the eastern side of the state. People usually think of the rainy west side, but the east side offers a totally different deal. Cities like Spokane and the Tri-Cities have houses that are much cheaper than Seattle. But people living there still get all the tax benefits of living in Washington. They get the financial perks of Washington with the lower costs of the Midwest. This gives people options. You can change your lifestyle without losing your tax benefits. Let's also look at the environment. Washington has a lot of water. While other parts of the country are worried about running dry, Washington is secure. People aren't just moving for the pretty views. They are moving because they know the water will keep flowing. It gives people a sense of long-term security that is hard to find elsewhere. Healthcare is another big piece of the puzzle. The University of Washington has one of the best medical systems in the region. Having access to top-notch doctors is a non-negotiable for many people as they get older. When you have great healthcare and a tax system that is good for retirement, it makes sense to stay. Finally, we have to look at the outdoors. This isn't just about liking nature, it's about being healthier. Most people in Washington live very close to a park or a forest. This means people actually get out and move. They lose weight and get stronger just by living their normal lives. People stay because they physically feel better. The only people who really regret Washington are usually those who moved without a solid job lined up. But for those who come prepared, the state works like a machine to help you build a good life. It has the resources and the money to keep you safe. That is why it sits at number 5. Number 4, Colorado. Number 4 is Colorado. Colorado is another one that is drawing in the millennials and the Gen Z crowd in droves. Years ago, it was pulling in the Gen Xers. It seems to reinvent itself for every generation as the cool place to be. And most of it has to do with the great outdoors. The Rocky Mountains aren't just scenery here, they are a lifestyle. They dominate the horizon and they dominate the culture. You have every kind of skiing you could imagine, from world-class resorts like Vail to local hills. You have hiking trails that take you above the tree line where the air is thin and crisp. You have camping, fishing, rafting, and kayaking. They got it all in the Centennial State. Now, let's be honest about the cities. Denver isn't as nice as it used to be. It has suffered from some urban decay, traffic congestion, and growing pains. West, the cost of living in the metro area has skyrocketed, but the rest of the state is outstanding in most places. Towns like Fort Collins in the north are consistently ranked as some of the happiest places in America. Colorado Springs offers a more conservative, military-friendly vibe with Pikes Peak right in your backyard. Durango in the south offers a rugged cowboy charm that feels authentic. The most common answers for wanting to move to Colorado were simple. People wanted to be closer to nature, or they used some other wording that meant the exact same thing. It all boiled down to a desire to be part of the landscape. People in Colorado are active. They are the fittest population in the country for a reason. You cannot live there and be sedentary. The culture won't let you. If you tell your coworkers you stayed inside all weekend, they look at you like you are crazy. The mountains call you out. And that lifestyle shift is why people don't regret it. They feel healthier. They feel more alive. They might be paying more for rent than they did in the Midwest, but they are paying for access to a playground that never closes. The sun shines over 300 days a year in Colorado. That sunshine has a massive impact on mental health. Seasonal affective disorder is rare here because even when it is freezing, the sun is blazing. That combination of sun and snow is addictive. You can go skiing in a t-shirt sometimes. People move there for a winter season and end up staying for a lifetime. They find a balance between work and life that is hard to replicate elsewhere. There is also a mindset in Colorado that is very specific. It is a work to live culture, not live to work. People take their leisure time seriously. They work hard, but when 5 p.m. hits on Friday, the office empties out instantly. Everyone is heading to the mountains. The air quality is another major factor. At high altitude, the air is thinner, but it is cleaner. You feel like you are detoxing just by breathing. Of course, you have to drink twice as much water, and one beer hits you like 3, but that is a small price to pay. The economy is also diverse. It is not just tourism. There is a booming aerospace industry. There is a massive tech hub in Boulder. There is a strong federal presence. This economic diversity provides a safety net. If one industry takes a hit, the others keep the state afloat. So you have the stability of a strong economy mixed with the adventure of the Wild West. That is a potent combination. It makes people feel secure in their bank accounts and wild in their spirits. And that is why the regret rate is so low, because Colorado delivers on its promise of adventure. Number 3, Minnesota. Number 3 is Minnesota. This one kind of surprised me when I first saw the data. I mean, I know Minnesota is a nice state on paper. It has high wages, good schools, and affordable housing, but it also has a reputation for being frozen solid for half the year. It does have Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities, and they have got some issues there with social unrest and crime in certain pockets recently, but most of the state is another story entirely. It is great for people that want to be outdoors, but prioritize affordability. It is affordable in both cost of living and real estate and rent. Compared to the coasts, or even to Colorado, Minnesota is a bargain. You can buy a lakefront house here for the price of a condo in Denver. I guess they have amazing small towns that are safe and clean. Towns where the main street still thrives, and people wave at you. They have lakes everywhere. It is the land of 10,000 lakes. Actually, it is more like 11,000 if you count them all properly. Water is a way of life here. In the summer, everyone is on a boat. It doesn't matter if it is a yacht or a canoe, you are on the water. In the winter, everyone is on the ice. Ice fishing shacks pop up like little villages on the frozen lakes. And yes, let's talk about the cold. It gets very cold. We are talking about temperatures that can freeze your breath instantly. We are talking about wind chills that feel like Mars. But not everyone hates the cold. There is a certain type of person who thrives in it. The people who stay in Minnesota are tough. They have a grit to them. They don't complain about the weather, they brag about it. Oh, it was -30 yesterday, they say with a smile. It is a badge of honor. The most common reason for being happy with the move to Minnesota was always around cost of living. Basically, affordability was a big thing for people moving here. They realized they could have a high quality of life without breaking the bank. They could save for retirement. They could afford vacations. They weren't living paycheck to paycheck just to pay the landlord. Oh, but I did see a strange amount of comments about fishing. It wasn't number one or anything like that, but there were a lot of people that mentioned fishing specifically. They said they like to fish and they want to move to Minnesota where they can fish all the time. Walleye fishing is practically a religion up there. If you catch a trophy walleye, you are a local hero. Alright, if that is what gets your motor going, go with it. I respect people who know what they want and go get it. But beyond the fishing, there is a sense of community resilience. The cold brings people together. You survive the winter together, and you celebrate the summer together. When the snow melts in May, the state explodes with energy. Everyone is outside. Festivals, fairs, concerts in the park. All Minnesotans soak up every second of summer because they know it is fleeting. That appreciation for the good times makes life feel richer. The healthcare system is also world class. The Mayo Clinic is in Rochester, Minnesota. People come from all over the world for treatment there. Knowing you have access to the best doctors on the planet provides a deep sense of security, so you have health, wealth, and lakes. It is a simple formula, but it works. People don't regret moving there because they find a community that actually cares. And they find a life that makes financial sense. Number 2, Wisconsin. Number 2 is Wisconsin. Yes, the Badger State shows up at number 2. And why not? It is a great place to live, especially if you have a family. I would say this is one of the top 5 states to raise a family in anywhere in the world. It has low crime rates across the board. It has good schools that are well funded and supported by the community. And it has lots of outdoor activities for kids that don't cost a fortune. I mean statewide, not just in some specific wealthy suburb. You can go to almost any town in Wisconsin and find a decent park and a safe street. Wisconsin really only has one city that has any notable crime, and that is Milwaukee. And even when you compare Milwaukee to places like Memphis, Detroit, or Chicago, it is not that terrible. It is not great, but it is not the worst. Outside of Milwaukee, the state is incredibly safe. Places like Madison, Green Bay, and Eau Claire are consistently ranked high for safety. The 2 most common reasons given for being happy with their move to Wisconsin were consistent. Number 1, it is a great place for families. Number 2, it has a low crime rate. Those are the fundamentals of a good life. You just have to deal with some pretty brutal winters, just like you do in Minnesota and Vermont, but the people in Wisconsin handle it differently. They handle it with beer and cheese. They have a culture of conviviality that is unmatched. They hang out in taverns, which are different from bars. A tavern is like a community living room. You bring your kids, you eat a fish fry, you watch the Packers game. Speaking of the Packers, that is the glue that holds the state together. It doesn't matter if you like football or not. On Sundays, the state shuts down. It is a shared cultural experience. They go to supper clubs, which are these retro restaurants that serve prime rib and brandy old fashions. It feels like stepping back into the 1960s in the best way possible. It is a social state. People actually talk to each other here. One person did mention they love Wisconsin, but they did have a problem with the people there. They said that they are from New Jersey, and the people in Wisconsin are really nice. So they think they are up to something. He said, coming from New Jersey, if someone is too nice to you, you put your hand on your wallet. You make sure they aren't trying to get it. That is the culture shock of moving to the Midwest. Midwest nice is real, and it can be suspicious if you aren't used to it. You wonder, oh, why is this cashier asking about my day? Why did my neighbor snowblow my driveway for free? But once you realize it is genuine, it is hard to leave. You realize that people just help each other because that is what you do. The economy is also very stable. It is built on manufacturing, agriculture, and brewing. These are industries that aren't going anywhere, so people feel secure in their jobs. People stay in Wisconsin because it feels like home. It feels grounded. It feels like the America that people are nostalgic for. A place where you know your neighbors, you can afford your house, and the beer is always cold. Number 1, Wyoming. And finally, we have reached number 1, Wyoming. Yes, Wyoming is one of those states that not many people regret moving to. Matter of fact, it beat number 2 on this list, Wisconsin, on by a good amount. Wyoming is unique. It is an anomaly in the United States. Like Montana and Idaho, it is one of those states that has been gaining popularity out west. In the last 5, 6, or 7 years, as Washington and Oregon kind of slowed down, Wyoming picked up the slack. People started looking for the next frontier. They wanted something wilder. And it is not just Californians moving to Wyoming. They get a lot of New Yorkers moving there. They get a lot of Texans moving there too. It is becoming a melting pot of people who want to escape the system. A lot of wealthy people have really nice homes in the Jackson area. That is like their second home, their vacation home, or their tax haven. Jackson Hole is basically a playground for billionaires now. But outside of Jackson, Wyoming is rugged and real. are. It is working class. It is ranchers and miners and people who just want to be left alone. Wyoming is a very beautiful state. It has Yellowstone, the first national park in the world. It has the Grand Tetons, which are arguably the most dramatic mountains in America. It has vast high deserts where wild horses still roam. That is another one of the reasons people want to move there. They want to be closer to nature in its rawest form. They don't want a manicured park. They want wilderness. The main reasons people said they are happy with their move to the cowboy state were clear: affordability, nature, and the fact that not that many people live in Wyoming. It is the least populated state in the country. There are fewer than 600,000 people in the entire state. Think about that. There are suburbs of Dallas with more people than the entire state of Wyoming. You can go days without seeing a neighbor if you don't want to. For an introvert or someone tired of the rat race, that is paradise. There is a sense of freedom in Wyoming that is palpable. You feel small against the landscape. You feel independent. The government feels very far away here. Those were the main reasons people said they are happy with their move. They wanted to be left alone, and Wyoming obliged. Of course, we have to talk about the wind. The wind blows constantly. It is relentless. There is an old joke that the wind stops blowing in Wyoming only when it changes direction, and the winter lasts for 8 months. Roads close frequently. You can get snowed in for days, but if you can handle that, you get a reward that few other states can offer. You get silence. True silence. You get space to think, and you get a life that is entirely on your own terms. That is why Wyoming is number one, because the people who move there know exactly what they are signing up for. They aren't moving there by accident. They are moving there with a purpose, and when you live with purpose, you rarely have regrets. They wouldn't trade the wind and the snow for anything. Thank you for listening to this report. I hope you got some valuable information out of it. If you are thinking about moving, consider these 5 states. They might not be the most glamorous, but they are the ones where people actually find happiness. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.